Hi. Oh boy.
Hi, Doug.
How's it going?
Good. I didn't realize you were teaching this class. I was like, what? This is amazing.
How fun. Hey Blake. Hi.
Hey. Hi, Doug.
And AJ, how you doing?
Doing good.
Cool. Oh man, thanks so much for being here. I know that some of you know how Zoom goes, but I'm just gonna remind everybody that doesn't know. Down below, you have the option to turn off your microphone or on. Same way with your video. You also can go to chat, and if you have a question, you can add a question in there. I'm probably going to mute your microphones just because sometimes just kind of banging around will interrupt a little bit. So I might do that. And let's see. I think that's about it below there. There are reactions down there as well, so you can do this, or I don't think there's one of those. But you can also do that. So if everybody's ready, I think I'm going to start. Are you going to stick around, Phoenix?
For part of it, I will probably just go dark for part of it, but I'll be here.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So I'm just curious, have you done chainmail before? No? Cool. Well, it all starts out with a ring, just like a single ring, and I've made some bigger ones just to show. And some of the tools that we need, I don't know if you have these, but these are chain nose pliers. These are flat nose pliers. And then we have a flush cutter. So you can use regular pliers if you want to. And you can use needle nose pliers if you don't have all these little ones for jewelry making. And then there's also just regular wire cutters. Now there's a problem with regular wire cutters. And what we want to do is we want to get the rings so they're flat together, so that when we bring them together, they're square. And what happens with wire cutters is they'll cut it on one side, they'll cut beveled, and on the other side, they'll be flush. And so to get them to look like that, we have to turn the cutter around. So one thing I guess you need to know about me is I'm kind of cheap. So you can go out, you can buy pre-made jump rings. And that's what they're referred to as jump rings, because they join different things in jewelry. And you can get them in all different sizes. But I'm cheap, so I like to make my own. So that's what I was going to start out with, was how to take just wire and make it into a ring and then cut it into flush ends. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's two flush cut ends on that. Can you see that okay? I'm sorry I don't have any whiz-bang camera action, so I'm going to have to rely on just the camera on the computer. So if you have some wire, does everybody have wire of some sort? Yes? Cool. No? No wire? Do you want to try it with a paper clip? Yeah? Do you want to get a paper clip? Yeah? Okay. Let's give some time to get a paper clip. Roy, do you have wire?
I forgot to go to my studio this morning to grab things, so I'm just going to watch along.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Well, I'm going to cut a section of brass and to go along with the cheap theme. I'm using brass just because it's less expensive, and I do a lot of test things out of brass and sometimes copper, but copper's a little bit more expensive. Just to see what the pattern looks like or the weave looks like, or if I just like it in general, and then I'll go to something more expensive like silver, which I love to work in silver. So you can do this with a pencil. They're about, just if you have a nice smooth round pencil. You can do it with, obviously dowel rod works really well. I'm going to use this more fancy. You can see it has graduations of different sizes. This is specific to making jump rings. So I'm going to use that. And I just start this by holding the wire and just wrapping it around. So I guess I should let you know about myself a little bit. I think most of you know that I work at Pacific Northwest College of Art at the front desk. But I went to Art Center College of Design for illustration. I graduated with a BFA in illustration. And then I started an ad agency with some friends of mine. And then I went off to Will Vinton Studios after coming back from the ad agency and working at Art Center as an admissions counselor. And then I went to Will Vinton Studios and did animation for some years. And from that, I started a children's book company. And then I left to work at a online gaming company, which is just so weird for me because I don't really play games. But while I was in Eugene at this gaming company, I decided to do something that I've always wanted to do, which was take a jewelry class. And so I ended up taking a lot of jewelry classes, and I've been making jewelry ever since. So here's the deal about the wire. So I've got my coil of wire. I've taken it off, whichever method you're using. Now there's a ton of ways to do this. Some people keep it on their dowel rod or pencil, and they'll use a jeweler's saw to cut it. And then I've also seen, this is a Dremel, and that's just a cutter that's on there. And people will do that too. And I've seen some pretty amazing things, but again, I'm cheap. And this is an easy way to do it with a flush cutter. So I know this is going to be difficult to see, but maybe not. So one side's flat and the other side is beveled. So I want to take the flat side. I want to take my wire. And I'm going to make sure that I've got one link. I'm going to cut that flat on that edge. Let's see if I can get it closer. Then I'm going to turn. This is where the dexterity comes in. I'm going to turn my cutters around so the flat side is just opposite. And I'm going to cut this. This is really difficult for me to see. And I get this one little ring with two flat sides. So I'll use this larger one to show you. And then the way to close a jump ring, you take two pliers, just a second, and you hold it like this, and you move it back and forth and push it just a little past until you hear it kind of clicking. And then you can give it a little pinch to make sure that it's flat. And I'm going to do that again so it's a little tighter. Did you get a paper clip, Simone? Cool. Do you have something to wrap it around? Okay. AJ, are you just listening to, or are you actually working? Excellent. So have you figured out the cutters and how it cuts flat?
I've got jump rings, so I'm just learning and I'll join in.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to make a few of these, but I'm also going to cheat and use this because I can't see. When you do this, you get a little teeny bit that flies around. So you want to have a rag or something to put them in as they jump off. So you clean up this one side and then you cut the next ring by turning the flush cutter around. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So I have this one weave that I wanted to show you. It's called a 4-in-1, and you know, chainmail goes back a long time, and it was originally used for, I don't know about originally, but it was used for protection underneath armor. So they've made, you know, shirts and headgear and leg armor, armor out of this. And this particular weave is one of the ones that I've seen for body armor, basically. But it also makes some really pretty jewelry, and I'd much rather go there. So this is it's called 4-in-1, and one of the reasons it's 4-in-1 is there's 4 rings linked to one ring. So I'm going to use these big rings. And the way that it starts out is you have 2 closed rings. And 1 open ring. So 1 open ring. Let's see if I do it right there. Sorry. And you put 2 open rings, and then you close your ring. Now this is the part that's a little tricky. So you hold that one ring in your fingers and stand those other two up. And then put your finger between them on the back side and you twist them around. So let me show you how that comes out. So wait for Simone to get back. So this is the front side of the pattern, and it's pretty important that it stays in this because it'll split these open. But you can see this first ring that's holding the other two starts on top and then goes behind the other two. Okay, now the next one is you take another open ring and you're going to put it between those two. And it's going to look like that. So it'll go front to back. So let me do that and I'll show you.
Hey Doug, there was a question in the chat and it said, what gauge wire are you using? So I just also kind of wanted to know what the best gauge is for the wire.
That's a great question, thanks. So wire comes in, a bunch of different gauges, and the one that I'm using is, let's see, this is a 20 gauge brass wire. I'm curious, is that backwards? Okay, good. So thank you. The larger the number, the smaller the wire. So you can see that one. I'll hold it in front of my shirt here. So that's 20 gauge. And then here's 16. Much thicker. And that's what I'm using for the big rings, is 16 gauge. And then for the little ones, I'm using 20. And this is what the little ones look like. So that's the very start of what I just did. And then here's the second part. So you can see that I had it upside down. So the middle ring starts on top and goes behind. And where I put the second ring starts on top and goes behind. Sorry, trying to do this up rather than flat. So it'll look like this in the little ones. That's the 20 gauge. And that's a very important pattern because it's the front. So if you dropped it, That's what you always want to look for, is that main wire in the center. There's that basic pattern. The main wire in the center goes from the front to the back. There's your next step in the link. And what that does is it holds it flat, because this will end up being a flat piece. And what I wanted to make was more of a cuff, so it's thicker. And if you keep building this particular pattern, your next step is to add those two outside rings. So I'm going to do that. See if I can show it to you. Do it in a big one. Let's see if I can. Yeah. It's difficult with this camera. Let's try this. I'm going to point it down. So I'm going to put that center ring in. So it's on top and going behind. Close. And then I'll add two outside rings. And close them. It's probably very difficult to see. I wish we were in class together. See if I can pick this up and show you again. You see that okay? So the center rings on top, going behind. And the outside rings. Excuse me a second. I have this backwards. I'll show you with this other pattern. You see that a little better. So the center ring is on top and behind. And then the outside ring lays on top of each other.
And so I have another question. Sorry, my dog's barking. Do you always use two different size, or I guess two different gauges on these patterns to help them? Like if you use all the same size, like rings, would that kind of mess up the pattern at all?
Yeah,
That makes sense?
that's a great question too. In this particular pattern, these are all the same rings. And that's why I chose this particular one. It's versatile, first of all. You can make bracelets or earrings or clothing if you wanted to out of it. But also you don't have to have a variety of different sizes. There's another one that I like a lot. It's called the helm stitch or weave. It looks like that. But it requires a couple of different sizes. You can see the two little ones in the center. Makes a really pretty, well, earrings or bracelet as well. How's that working for everyone? So I want to make one a little wider than this particular one. You can make into an earring, or actually you could add more and make it into a diamond shape, which is pretty. AJ, are you getting the particular pattern okay? Yeah. Do you want to go through it again? Okay. So I want to make this, is what I've been working on. So in order to do that, you need 3 open rings and 8 closed rings. Let me make sure that I have all those. Simone, how you doing with the paperclip?
I'm okay. I was a little bit underprepared, but I've just actually been taking notes and drawing the little patterns for later. So this is, I wish I was more prepared, but I think my notes will be good enough to when the stuff comes in the mail. 'Cause that's when the whole thing is just,
Right, waiting for that, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So today it's a little, but I think I got it. I think it's gonna, I'm really excited.
Cool, yeah. This is recorded too, and I'm not sure where it'll be available, but from Phoenix, and so you can watch it again. And then drawing always helps me too to understand it. So I've done that 100 times going, what?
Mm.
So I have my 3 open jump rings and my 8 closed jump rings. And I'm going to take 4 closed jump rings and put them onto an open jump ring. This is just another way to do it. And then I'm going to close that jump ring. And then I'm going to split that. So I have 2 hanging on the bottom, and I've pinched 2 on the top. And the 2 on the top, I'm going to take another open jump ring. So it's making this little chain. It's called a 2-in-1 chain. And then I'm going to add 2 more closed jump rings to that open one. I can actually do it. And I'm going to close that jump ring. Then we put our 3rd jump ring on. Your open jump ring and your last 2 closed jump rings. This is what you get, is a 2-in-1 chain. So it's 2, a single, 2, a single, 2, a single. Then you're going to lay it flat on the table, and this is what you'll get. See if I can steady my hand here. So you can see that there's the center 3 rings. I think I have this upside down again, sorry. Nope, I had it right the first time. So the center rings start on top and go to the back. The outside rings lay on top of each other. Oops, sorry. Now I'm going to take a ring and I'm going to add it between these two, between these two, between those two. So it'll go from here to here. So just added that ring. It's in that same pattern. Oops. In that same pattern that it's on top and goes behind. It's on top, goes behind. I'm going to add one between here and here. Same way. I go down and then up. So down through this one and up through that one. Not sure if I can do this while it's on camera. Hard to do on the board there. That's the one I just added. So I went down and up. Close it. There's the one I just added. It's again one of the center rings, so it's on top and then goes behind. So if you ever drop it or it gets out of sequence and it's kind of like knitting, you have to figure out what you've done wrong. So as long as you see this 3 in the center, there's 3 here on top and going behind, and then the 4 lay on top of each other as it goes down the row. So they're behind and on top. So it's alternating. So I'm going to add another ring. I'm going to go down here and up here and close that one. So that completes the 3 center ones in the pattern. Sorry, I keep calling it a pattern. It's actually a weave. So you can see the center ones, 1, 2, 3, are all up and going down below. And then the outside 4 start below and lay on top of each other as the pattern goes. So we're ready to add another 4 across there. And I like to start with the 2 in the center. So I'm going to go between these 2 and then put one right here between those 2. The outside ring just gets a single one, doesn't go through anything else. So let me do that. It's hard in this card. So I've added those two in the center. And now I have to put one right there. And right there. Sorry, I put it in the wrong place. This is a good example of, sorry. See how I put that one in the wrong place and it's completely obvious in the pattern. Can you see where it should go? It's obvious, like, that's where it should be, which is in that one, not on that. So let me adjust that. And that's what it starts to look like. Again, you can see the center ones, the 3 in the center, so it's a 3 and 4. Center, 2, 3, and the outside 1, 2, 3, 4. Center ones start on top and go behind. Outside ones lay on top of each other, start behind and go forward. Now, if you have absolutely nothing else to do, you can just keep doing that. And you start to end up with something like that. And I'm planning on turning this into a bracelet. And then at some point, probably doing it in silver and giving it to someone. I'm not sure who yet. Do you ever solder the rings closed? Absolutely. when I was showing you that other helm weave. Let me grab it again. One thing that does come in handy is a paper clip to hold on to things. Just super handy. So let's see. In this helm weave, there's two smaller rings holding the rings together. If we turn it a bit, you can see that there's doubles and the little ones go through it and hold that center one. So what I do is I solder all of the large rings together, and then I use the little ones as jump rings in between, and they're just too small to solder. But if you've cut them properly, you can get them very close and nobody sees it. I do have to say that soldering something that small is a challenge. I have just gotten it down because it's it's really about the amount of solder for each one. Excuse me, because you don't want to get too much solder on your ring or it fluxes past it and makes a thick spot, and that just doesn't look good. Excuse me, I have to have some more coffee. So has that been completely helpful, or yeah, you getting it down? Yeah, thanks. Is there any other questions? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I do have a resource for weaves, but I have to say that at the moment I can't remember the address of it. Sorry, but I can get it to you. There's thousands of images and thousands of tutorials on how to make different patterns all over the internet. And okay, yeah, I'll send you some for sure. Yeah, because it's real fun. Any other questions or anything else? Or you want to go over anything else? Oh, thank you, Roy. Thanks for all of you being here. It's really fun to see you all. I wish we were in a class together because it's tough to do without a more close-up camera or something. So if you want to do it again, I'll be happy to do this or anything. So.
Thank you so much. This is so great.
Thanks, Roy. I really appreciate you.
For an hour on a Saturday.
I love that. Thank you so much.
I would love to, like, once I get my materials, I'd love to just kind of just work on just like the mechanics, but it'd be cool if you could teach maybe like an advanced class. Like if you go through archives and you find like these interesting patterns, like, I don't know, I think it could be, I really like this. And so it'd be kind of cool to do like a beginners or then like a more advanced weaving, because it kind of helps to watch you work through it rather than just read it and try to figure it out. So I find that really helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and maybe I can come up with a different camera, because if I had a camera from my POV, you know, so you could actually see how I twist it or work with it, and it's really important which directions you're working at, especially with a weave like this, because it's one piece gets off and it starts to come apart. Yeah, you'll notice that if you put a center ring through the wrong way, it won't hold open. It'll just fall on itself. So I would love to do that. Thank you for that.
When I've set up recording to like view my hands, I'll like get like a stack of books and some rulers and then put my phone on the rulers. And then the phone camera can do that.
No, that's really a good suggestion. I borrowed a friend's iPad, so that'd probably be the same sort of situation, right? So the camera for that. The problem was the cord to charge it didn't come with it at the moment, so I had no way to charge it. But yeah, I would love to do this again and do something more close up, and again, Simone, to do more patterns, because it's really fun, and it's one of those things that, like, I likened it to knitting. Like, I know what I'm doing knitting. I tried to do a square one time, and it was just knit purl. I don't even know, but it came out looking like Pennsylvania. It was just, and so my fiance had to go, oh yeah, this is where you went wrong. Oh yeah, this is where you went wrong. So I kind of gave that up. And so this is my little nod to just that repetitive thing that comes out beautiful. So yeah, thank you all for being here. And yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll talk to Phoenix about doing this again and doing some more advanced stuff. Yeah, and thanks for that suggestion, Blake. I'll definitely do that. And Ingrid, are you over there? Hi, how'd it go? Or how's it going? Oh, this pattern, the basic start to that is called 4-in-1.
I left you a comment. I felt it was a little difficult for me to follow along because from the very beginning, I was trying to, even though I do some jewelry, it was just moving too fast. So I thought it would have been helpful if you would have told people that it would have been helpful if I would have already had some closed and open jump rings, as opposed to, I was still trying to
make the wire or make the
close the jump. Well, I made the wire, but then my wire cutters, which are, I usually use for 22 to 24 inch jump rings. So then I just went and got pre-made jump rings that I already have that are open, but I was still trying to efficiently close them after you were already onto the second, the fourth ring being added. So I also tend to be, well, online, certainly a little bit of a slower learner. So I think if you could have like repeated the pattern like 3 times, I mean, maybe that's not essential for other people, but for me, especially in an online situation, just repeating it a couple, 2 or 3 times, since I don't have you right in front of me as an instructor to say, hey, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? That repetition can be helpful. And I know, like, I I recently took a beginning metalsmith class. I'm actually like a wire wrapper, but not traditional, in a very, very minimalist way. But in the class, the teacher also would just kind of show one example, kind of quickly move through it, then move on. And I felt like there was a lot of the same feedback, was that it was shown too quickly. And in that situation, you know, somebody said that, she said, oh, well, I'm right here to help you as you work through it. But in an online situation, it doesn't really work that way. So that would be my only, you know, suggestion for a student like me, is that not, you know, you did say what tools we needed, but I felt like, especially someone who's never even made jump rings or closed jump rings, it might have really been fast. And even I'm experienced doing that. It was kind of moved a little too fast for me to get everything as I'm trying to do everything.
Yeah, I have to say it's just difficult in this situation in general that I can't see the pace that everybody's working at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Which is why I'm excited that this class was videotaped, because I'm certainly really excited by it. And I'm going to go back and work through it more at a pace where I can like stop and inspect everything and go back if I need to. So thank you very much. I really love, it's a really cool school to have.
Thanks. Yeah. You can always
Yeah.
any questions too.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I was, you know, at some point I just decided to stop and watch and listen, but
Cool.
yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that comment too, because I'd never know how often to repeat something, you know, because you just never know, you know, if people are getting it or not. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm a slow learner, but once I get it, I'm good.
Well, this is you know, it's not super easy.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's a little bit like macrame too,
There you go. Yeah.
which I recently learned some basics as well.
Yeah, it's really fun. I haven't done that since the 70s though.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you all for being here.